Most of the people that are listening right now are unlikely to pick up a gun and go shoot somebody. But most of the people that are listening right now are subject to carrying a grudge, maybe. Maybe their sister has really pissed them off. So they're carrying a grudge. They're like, okay, if it's the last thing I do, that bitch is going down. They're walking around carrying that, and they really harbor that, and it changes who they are. As we've said, it can change their brain, it can change their mental approach, their emotional approach to things. And they think that that's specific to the individual, but it changes who they are in all of their relationships. It changes the way they parent, it changes the way they go through life. It's kind of like a skunk. It doesn't just smell in the yard, it goes through the entire house, the backyard, the whole neighborhood. It permeates everything. If you have bitterness and anger and resentment, it touches everything. What do you say to these people that harbor resentment, carry grudges? They have this need for retaliation. They have this need for revenge, for getting even instead of letting it go. I talk to people all the time about the fact that when you do this, you give your power away. You're letting that person dictate who you are. You're letting that person dictate the way you think, feel, and act all across your life. And it may not get to the point where they're going to pick up a gun and go shoot somebody, but it does change who they are. What do you say to those people?
Well, Dr. Phil, that's such a deep and important insight that you've just expressed, which is this, although we've been focusing on violence for a while, this is so much broader than violence. It's about any form of grievance. These are things that destroy family relationships, destroy careers, they destroy and eat away the fabric of communities. And what I say to people in those cases, because it's just the same thing, revenge seeking is on a spectrum. It's the lowest level is, some sort of muttering under your breath, maybe, or maybe some sort of a verbal sparring, all the way up to and through and including serious violence, murder, terrorism. Okay, so it's a wide spectrum of behaviors. The same process, however, is at work. So think of it this way. We've got an infinite number of grievances that humans can experience at any particular time because they're imaginary, they pop in and out of our heads. But what we can do is we can focus on this revenge reward circuitry in the brain, and there's something that we can do for that. So, for instance, in our research, we've created this system, this process called the non-justice system, and this is what I invite people to do. And we've just released a mobile device app that's available right now to anybody at the miraclecourt.com website, miraclecourt.com, and it's called the Miracle Court app. And with this app, it allows anybody anywhere to put on trial anyone who's ever wronged you at any time in your life. Put them on trial for free. There's no cost for this app. And you play all of the roles during the trial. You're going to get to prosecute that person. You're going to get to tell your story as the victim. You're going to get to play that person testifying in their own defense. You're going to get to be the judge who decides guilt or innocence and who decides the sentence. And you're also going to get to be the person who implements that sentence, whatever it is. And it can be anything you want, even something a normal court would not allow. This allows you, as I mentioned earlier, to release this revenge craving. And then in the final step, which is called the final judgment, and this is where applied spirituality and psychology comes in, because it's a cognitive, it has CBT, cognitive aspects to it, and motivational interviewing. But what happens in the last step is you become the judge of your own life. And you realize that the thing that you're carrying a grudge about doesn't exist. It doesn't even exist in your own head. It exists as a memory of something that happened sometime in the past. Nobody outside of your head knows that it's there. Only you can conjure it up by continuing to replay this memory tape over and over. Once you start to see that this isn't a real thing, you become empowered to take control of it. And you just mentioned about, losing power over the situation by using revenge. And that's exactly what happens. Well, this process enables you to take that power back and go, well, how do I get out of this? One is I start practicing non-justice, which means no longer seeking justice against this person because it's against my own self-interest. Every time I do, I'm reminding myself and re-victimizing myself over what occurred. That's what happens in all trials and cases. As a lawyer, I feel like much of the time lawyers spend re-victimizing their clients, or if you're a prosecutor, the victims of the crime, because every time you have to rehearse their case and rehearse their testimony and get them all wound up and get them to testify properly, you're destroying them. And if you're an empathetic person, as I was when I was doing this, you're also destroying a bit of yourself, because you take on the role of victim as the lawyer, and you yourself are feeling this terrible process. So this enables you to break through that, and it asks you in the end to imagine what you would feel like. You're never required to, but you're asked, what would it feel like to you if you forgave this? Not as a gift to the person who hurt you, but as a gift of mercy to yourself. Because what we really know about forgiveness is it's never a gift to the perpetrator. It's the gift of freedom and healing to yourself. When you decide to forgive, which is within your power, you've set yourself free from the wrongs of the past. That's what I tell these people, and this app takes you through those steps. You can get through it in about 20 or 30 minutes. It's all audio driven. It's actually my voice. And I, as your lawyer in the courtroom of the mind, I take you through those 5 steps and hopefully leave you in a better place. I've used this with rape victims. I've used it with some people who've experienced some very serious forms of violence. I've trained individuals who are trying to de-radicalize violent extremists in how to use it themselves, violence interrupters in major cities, things like this. And it seems to be, we've been able to show in preliminary studies that it has powerful efficacy in reducing revenge cravings.
Tell us the website again.
That's miraclecourt.com. All one word. miraclecourt.com.
Yeah, well, we're going to put a link to that everywhere on our social platforms so people can find it. That makes so much sense, because it also has that element of resolving cognitive dissonance when you're having to argue the other person's point of view. It makes you stand in their shoes and you're forced to see things through their eyes. And boy, do we need a lot of that right now in this country. But I love the fact that you're taking the position that this is something that doesn't exist. I always encourage people to test their thoughts for rationality. There are a lot of definitions you can use, but I always say, look, if you're having a thought, at least test its rationality. Number one, is having this thought in your best interest? Does it get you what you want? Does it protect and prolong your life? You can use different criteria, but test your thinking to see whether it's rational or not. And if it's not, then generate a rational alternative. If this thought's not rational, if it doesn't get you what you want, if it doesn't protect and prolong your life, then what does? Come up with something that you can put in its place that does. The reason I wanted to expand this to not just those that are thinking about shooting someone, there are so many people out there right now that just in the normal course of their life, as you say, everything's on a continuum. You back down the continuum. People experience this every day, whether it's towards their boss at work, whether they've had something done to them, real or imagined. I wrote a book back in 1998, and I talked about the 10 laws of life, and one of them was there's power in forgiveness. And you said something very important. You said when you decide to forgive. That's a very profound statement, and I want people to hear that again. Decide to forgive. Sometimes we sit there and passively wait for this emotion of forgiveness to wash over us. That's not how it works. It's our decision. I've forgiven people that don't even know they ever did anything to me, and I didn't tell them I forgave them. If I did, they would have said, for what? It isn't important that they know. It's important that I know. Because if I don't forgive them, then I'm locked in this bond with them forever, back and forth. And if I let them go, then I'm free. Forget that they're free or not. Their judgment day will come later. If ever, they may not have ever even aggrieved me in some way. But if I thought they did, if I can forgive them, I set myself free. That cell I'm in locks from the inside. I can let myself out if I choose, if I decide to forgive and move on. I was so glad to hear you say that.
Oh, you put it so beautifully and so powerfully, and that's exactly the case, and that's the end point, and that's why we call it the miracle court. It's actually a court where when you experience, if you've ever experienced, I know you just described it for yourself, but for listeners, if you've ever made that decision that Dr. Phil just described to forgive someone, there's a miracle feeling at that moment. It's miraculous. And the reason it is because this thing that was so important to you and so incredibly painful to you, that was ruining your life, suddenly, in an instant, in a blinding flash, is gone. That's miraculous stuff. I mean, humans haven't figured out a way to perform many miracles, but I'd say every human being, there's one miracle that we have been born, and it is in our true nature to be able to perform at any time. And that's the miracle of letting the past go and setting yourself free. That can be performed by anybody, anywhere. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take any special training. And it's not magic. This isn't magic. This isn't hocus pocus. It has nothing even to do with religion or spirituality. It's just a decision to set yourself free. And when you do it, if you experience it, it is so profoundly joyful and blissful and freeing and relieving. The people that go through this court often say, geez, it just feels like the weight of the world just suddenly lifted right off of my shoulders. I can't believe it was this easy. I had the power all along, and I thought somebody else did.